This episode of Dance and Other Things is sponsored by Motion Prep Dance Products. Prepare deeper to move easier.
It's the reason why I'm still here.
Yeah.
Had I not had that money and food, money to eat and all of that, maybe I would have moved back. You know what I mean? Not saying I'd give up and not come back, but that's what kept me here and never made me, leave. My love for Vogue is that's my style.
What is up, artists and movers, and welcome to the first ever interview episode of Dance and Other Things, my show here on my channel where we talk about dance and other things that affect dancers' lives and careers and experiences. And my first guest is none other than my good friend Cisco Ruelas. Cisco is known for his heels choreography under Per Movement, which really has a sultry and soulful feel to it with his music selection, and we get into all of that in this episode. We talk about what made him first start dancing, what his move to LA was first like, and how difficult that was for him, and also what it's like building this business that he has now. So I feel like it's an episode that's just super filled with gems, but I will warn you that at the time of recording this, I still was trying to figure out the audio situation, so it may sound a little weird at some points, but I promise it's worth the listen. So I would love to hear you guys' comments down below on just what you think of the episode, maybe something that you took from hearing his story, and even any guests that you guys would like to hear from in the future. So without further ado, first of all, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and do that. Thank you. And now here is my conversation with Cisco Ruelas. What's up, Cisco? Welcome to Dance and Other Things.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm so excited to have you. I like to start these off by first talking about just like how I know the person who's on right now. So we first met in one of your dance classes, and it was like right when I moved to LA. And I don't know how you like came up on my Instagram, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna go take his class. And I just remember you walking in with like all of your tech gear. And I was like, oh, he's on to something. He is on to something. And you made sure that you recorded everyone in the class, which at the time was like not done, you know? And I was just like, dang, he is so kind. Like, he's just such a kind person. And so like time went by. We ended up doing Jeté together. Do you remember that when you sang?
Yes, sang
Yeah. No, but it turned out so good. And I remember you just being like, I want to try something new. Like, I want to do something different. And I feel like you and I like bonded over that experience because it was like something new for you and I was new to you. And from then on, like, we just were cool. And I feel like from you, I've learned the value of like slow friendships. I feel like when people move to LA, the first thing they think is like, I have to meet all these people and I have to be friends with all these people. And from you, I've learned the value of just like slowly letting a relationship grow. And I feel like that's why we're still cool, you know?
It wasn't on no networking. That's what a lot of people sometimes don't realize. Their friendships are more about networking than it is about the actual relationship.
Yeah, it can feel very transactional. I kind of want to start off with just what made you move to LA and what made you to be like, okay, I'm going to pursue this dance thing for real.
Before, coming to LA ever, I used to dance for like a year on like a hip hop team. I did step for 4 years. So like that's actually step is where my foundation came from. And then I was introduced to dance after the first hip hop squad I did. After high school, I joined another one. That choreographer ended up getting booked on X Factor, and he left, because like he was pursuing his career as like a choreographer. He did MBA too. So when he left, that led to me, kind of taking a leadership role and becoming, a choreographer, just because I wasn't very fond of what else Arizona had. I liked watching it, but for me to do it, it just didn't sit right. So I was like, all right, let me just, try this out, figure it out. So I taught, for a while before I did come out here. And then for my birthday one year, I ended up coming to LA. And there was an audition for an agency that happened to be the same week. So I went to the audition and I ended up getting signed the same day. And it was with MTA, which was like, it was my first audition ever for anything that was professional. As soon as I, got signed, I just took that as a sign to move, and it was ready. I was ready for the next phase in my life and my career.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I pick out of that story. So one, you started on a step team. I also was on a step team in high school. And I realized that I don't think I was ever captain or anything like that. But I do remember that was a lot of people's first experience in a leadership role creating something. And so the fact that that's where you first started choreographing, I think that's super cool. And it's also just a reminder that these little extracurriculars are so important for for young people, for kids who are in high school. They're just that's just a phase or whatever. But they really are getting the skills to do whatever it is that they feel chosen to do,
Yeah, that literally, the step team was probably the most the most learning I've, had in any phase. Because I told you, I was introduced to dance. I wasn't a dancer. I joined the step team. I made it. It's a team of 60 people. Once you make it on the step team, they have a small dance team that only the steppers can audition for. So you can outside. Everyone made it except for me. I got cut. So literally imagine that, everyone gets taken, and then you get cut. And I was a freshman. I was a rookie as well. Okay. I'm not going to say that, I was amazing and I deserved to be on it. I just took it for what it was. Following year, sophomore year, I was one of the first picks on the dance team. Same choreographer too. So they saw something in me that happened over summer. I don't know. But I definitely picked up. And then towards my senior year, my junior year and senior year, I became head captain.
So you were that quintessential story of wasn't good at something, was dedicated to something, got better at it, and then got to the highest,
So,
yeah.
The no, but turning it into a yes over time, if you really, like it, because that kind of gave me that tough skin that I didn't even know I needed to come to LA. You know what I mean? Because LA gives you 1,000,000 no's, not even 1,000.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there's so many no's that I look back on in my past. For example, there was an arts boarding school that I really wanted to go to in high school. And I had gone to their summer programs and I was like, oh, I'm going to get into the high school. No problem. And I didn't. And there were so many situations like that where I got no's that when I got here to LA, I was like, oh, that's why I had to get those no's. It's you have to learn how to almost self-soothe and then come to the point where okay, now what am I going to do with this? And then get dedicated to what you're going to do and do it. There's those three moments that you have to hit when you get a no, and people don't realize you're going to get way more no's than yeses.
Oh, for sure. That's the way the game goes. It's just how life works in general.
So another thing I wanted to ask is, okay, so you moved to LA, you got signed, and then from there you decided, okay, so now I'm going to move.
Yeah, at the moment, I was literally on top of the dance scene for Arizona. Mm-hmm. I had a dance team called Element Dance Crew.
Yes, Element.
It's the Arizona Raw Talent, which is acronym is ART.
Okay.
I had that, and we literally performed at every venue. We opened up shows. We started it from the ground up, down to creating the name. So it was a bit hard and bittersweet because it was I knew something else was around the corner. Mm-hmm. But yeah, leaving that, I was like the senior and I was going to be a freshman again.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it feels like. And I'm grateful that you pointed out that like that was hard, because a lot of people feel like when good things happen, that shifting and pivoting is easy because you're shifting to a good thing, right? But you were leaving what you knew. You left this baby that you had created in Arizona, and you were like, okay, now I'm going to go try and create something else. I have no idea how this is going to go, but I have to go all in if I'm going to do it. And that can be like nerve wracking. And it's okay to admit that like those things can be scary. I think a lot of times dancers are told, you know, like no pain, no gain, keep smiling through it. The show must go on. It's like, yes, all of that. But I am also allowed to feel like nervous about things, you know?
Allowed to feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Allowed to feel. And I feel like also our sensitivity as artists is what allows us to do what we do. So to try and turn that off is like trying to shut down something that's very useful to what we do. A quick message from this episode's sponsor. I am not a robot. I am a human being. A body that aches, a mind that gets heavy with choreography, decisions, day-to-day thoughts. But I know that when I practice putting myself and my body first, I can perform my best for myself and for others. Every time I take a moment to use my massage ball set while I'm warming up or cooling down, I'm choosing to give my body some love, some me time, preparing my muscles even deeper so that the music can flow through me even easier. Make some time to show your body some love with Motion Prep. Prepare deeper to move easier. Click the link in the description to grab your set. So you had moved to LA. How long was it between when you moved and when you started teaching?
So yeah, I moved here. I was training. I was working 2 jobs.
Do you mind sharing what those 2 jobs were?
Yeah. So the only way I can move out here and have work was I had to go back to my old job that I had put my 2 weeks in. You know, I switched jobs, so I didn't like get fired or anything. And I went back. It was a shoe store, Famous Footwear.
Okay.
And they have it here, they have it in Arizona. I went back. My manager's really cool, and I told her, I was like, hey, like I'm getting signed, so I'm moving to LA. Could you help me get my job back and like transfer me out there? And she did that. So I had that job, and then I ended up later on getting Starbucks. Okay. Which was crazy job. It's so stressful. Some days I would work both jobs. That was just to barely make rent. Even before that, like before that, I had to wait like a couple months. So I had some money saved up. Yeah. The first 2 months, I basically I discovered the Vogue scene out here.
Okay.
So when I found it, it was something I would do weekly. It was a battle. People would just like put money in a hat and like at this club called Mickey's in West Hollywood. And I would battle because like I didn't have the money, you know, or the resources. And every week I won for those 2 months I didn't have a job. Money to eat.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I love telling that story because I feel like people see me now and they think that it's easy, and it's like they don't understand. Like I don't share everything. I'm open, but I mean, if you don't ask, I won't tell.
Yeah, no, that's why I asked. That's why I asked what those jobs were and what that was like, because people like to skip over that part, or people pretend like, I don't know, people just pretend like they didn't come from humble beginnings sometimes. And I feel like in sharing what that moment was for you, like that allows someone to not feel so much shame about their situation. Like for me, I was a nanny, you know, and like just watching kids, and you saw when I would have them all in my stories all the time, because I'm just watching people's kids all the time, like you said, to barely pay rent, like barely. So yeah, bare minimum, because
I have to borrow.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like sometimes you have to borrow. Sometimes if you have parents who are willing to lend, like you got to reach out, because to be an artist is expensive. I feel like people don't talk about that part enough too, like how much of a monetary investment becoming a dancer is, because you're investing in classes, you're investing in tech gear, sometimes you're investing in outfits for auditions, like all of this stuff. Like you have to be able to pay for that, and you have to be able to train so that you become a better dancer, so you can book the job, so you can leave the job you're at, you know?
It's like, yeah, it's super hard, because it's like it's almost like it's easier to give up, which it is.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope a lot of people don't do. That's not what I did. But it's definitely like everything's against you in order to achieve your dreams.
Yeah.
A battle in every direction.
Yeah. And that resistance is normal. Like some people will think, oh, I'm meeting resistance. That must means I'm not supposed to do this. You know, like that must mean that this isn't supposed to be for me. But it's like, no, you're meeting resistance because that's what it takes in order to be able to do this stuff. So, okay, so you had been doing the Vogue battles and stuff like that. You ended up getting the 2 jobs. At what point did you decide, okay, I am going to pay attention to teaching and try this teaching thing?
So I worked at Famous Footwear, and I ended up booking Tinashe with Jojo Gomez.
I remember that.
My first like major videos that I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like this is what I came for. I ended up covering, shifts. We do that at jobs. I did that for just maybe 90%. We had a small store, so maybe 6 people worked there. I needed 1 day covered for the shoot. Everyone denied me to cover my shift. Someone had told me like, well, if you can't find a cover, you have to come in. And I was like, no, I don't. I was like, I quit. My manager at my Starbucks was just not feeling me. And it wasn't even, I don't know what it was. It could have been something personal for him. And he fired me. For some reason, I didn't because I just quit one. I only booked Tinashe. Music videos don't pay like a lifetime amount of money where you're going to be set for life.
They don't. The people don't understand that part.
Yeah, you don't get residuals off music videos. So I didn't panic, but I also didn't have jobs, and I had rent coming up. And around that time, I had this audition come up, and it was a Honda commercial. They sent it to me. I've been on plenty of auditions, like I said, a million now. I went into this with just the intention of just auditioning. Made it to the final audition. This is a 3-day audition. And then I went through all these styles. And as I'm saying them, I'm actually like
doing them. Yeah.
I was in casual conversation. I was like, yeah, I Vogue and I wax.
Right. Slip the audition right in there. Like.
And then at the end, I was like, but I also stepped. Yeah, they were all foreigners. Because a lot of producers sometimes come from other countries.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, and I stepped, and like the main producer was sitting back up. And then he was like, what's step? And he sat forward. And I was like, it's like you're making music with your body. So I did the step, and like he literally adjusted himself in his seat. Like it really like woke him up. And I left the audition. And then I get a call. I booked the audition. The only dancer to book it in LA.
Wow.
It was a Super Bowl hotspot commercial.
Wow.
Where I got residuals.
Yeah.
Residuals, invested in camera equipment, invested in the laptop that I'm on right now, my stabilizer, my lights. It literally paid like
a lot of, yeah, dude.
Like more than a doctor's salary in a year.
That is crazy, because I try to tell that to people when they move to LA and they're like, oh, I want to dance for so and so. And I'm like, that's great and all, but in the beginning, when you have no name, the thing you should be wanting to get is these commercials. Because for me, I got a Adidas commercial. I didn't get residuals, but I got a fairly big buyout. And and so from that commercial, I was able to purchase my first set of merchandise for my brand, Motion Prep. That's how I paid to start my brand. And I also watched a video on, her name's Erin Carpenter. She started Nude Bar. They make the tights for like dark skinned dancers. She booked a commercial, and that's how she bought her first merchandise. And so I'm like, there's something in like commercials being able to give you a big amount of money at one time. And when you get that, like, use that to do what you really want to do. And so that's how you were able to purchase all of your tech and stuff.
And I didn't, I literally paid rent and didn't have to work for like 3 years.
Wow.
Off of one job.
Off of one job.
And it was that moment when I started to like really build, you know, what I consider my empire.
Yeah.
When I did get the money initially, like, it was, I'll say it because it's years ago. I mean, first check was 10 grand. And I really sat with this money and I just was like, I don't want to be broke again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to get to that point because like, it's like, you don't get desperate. In a way you do, but like, it's like what you do when you're in that moment. Like I chose to do dance battles.
Mm-hmm.
Some people choose to do other things and like,
yeah.
up and like, I didn't give up. I was like, all right, I know I like to film, or I like my stuff to be filmed. I was like, let me just cut the middleman out and buy my own stuff. And now I can teach. I can teach free classes. I can afford that. I don't want to charge people anyways, because I don't feel like it's my place to charge people for something they don't even know what I have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, let me teach these free classes. And then that's when I met you.
Yeah. Wow. What a blessing that was to be reaffirmed in what your goals for yourself were. Like, because it's so easy to, when you don't have a lot of money, to just do whatever is making money at that time. And so that's why people stay in jobs that they're getting treated like trash. And I feel like that was God just being like, okay, let's remove you, you know?
And I could have honestly, how you said some people stay in those environments that they don't get treated right in. I really could have stayed there though. The way he like fired me, I could have went to corporate and I could have got my job back.
But that wasn't for you. Something told you.
Out of there. And in my head, like I told you, I wasn't panicking. I don't know what it was. And then since then, I never worked a 9 to 5, ever.
Wow.
I'm going on, I would say 6 years of working for myself.
Wow. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm having these conversations and doing these interviews with people, is because I want to encourage, especially dancers, because we want what we want so badly, because we love what we do. We are willing to stay in situations that are hurtful or, just not good for our physical or mental health.
Willing to settle.
Willing to settle. Oh my God. Like, and if you're willing to settle in one area, it permeates into every other area of your life. You know, it permeates into your relationships. It permeates into your living situation, like all of that. And that's just a beautiful story of you just being like, I have no idea where this is going, but something is telling me not to settle here, you know?
It was the same feeling as when I moved here.
Yeah.
I was like, this is familiar, so it wasn't scary. I mean, even the first year, of living here, I moved 6 times. I was couch surfing. Like, I feel like I should say that just because whoever's listening to this.
Yeah.
I moved 6 times.
6 times.
Crazy places because I couldn't stay anywhere for too long. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy time.
It was a crazy time. Everyone's LA story has some crazy, crazy times in it. And I feel like that's what makes, like you said, like you wanted to say that because that's what makes it relatable. You know, this story of like, oh, I'm going to leave my job at the perfect time when I have just the right amount of money saved and I have another job already lined up and I have the perfect apartment that's safe in a nice neighborhood. It's like, that's not how it works for most people. And if we, are honest about that, I feel like it'll stop making people put so many barriers on them just doing the thing, whether if it's moving or pursuing dance or whatever it is. Coming up after the break.
Branding is so important, and like creating that name. You want to do it right the first time. That's another thing too. Building structure when you don't have your own job. Like,
yes.
so hard.
Oh my God.
I get all of these blessings, but I don't keep them to myself. I like spread them to the people that I do love.
So what made you pick heels to start teaching? Because you had all of these different backgrounds. How did you, this is my thing?
I honestly, that's an interesting story because I wouldn't say I picked heels. It developed into that. It evolved from what I was doing. So I taught, so how I was a big fan of Live in Color from America's Best Dance Crew. Bianca Bruton is my favorite. Seeing her, I loved the whole group, but seeing her, I was just in awe. I had already been dancing, did hip hop. I really liked that style, that Florida riding out. And I took onto that when I was doing my own group. I didn't do that style, but I was very much high energy. So I matched that energy. Then out of nowhere, I was just let me try some R&B music because I used to sing for 10 years before I danced. So R&B just had a special place for me. I loved Boys to Men, Brian McKnight, Music Soul Child, John Legend, Jagged Edge,
vocals. Yeah,
real soul, you know what I mean? And so this is when I discovered Gaylyn before she had an album. She had some EP out, and I just dabbled in it, and I was let me just try this out. And this is, again, just my hip hop, taking it to an R&B world. And I really enjoyed it. Did it for a while. And then, of course, in the dance world, majority of people who dance are women. That's just how it is. If you go to any school for dance, it's going to be a sprinkle of guys and it's going to be women. It's not a bad thing either. It's just how it is. I think also too, because, most guys want to be macho because, upbringings and old fashioned, you got to be manly, and dancing is not manly. Now that's not the case, but back then. So I had a lot of women taking my class. And then one was can I come in heels? And that's where it sparked.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
The first one.
Yeah, but
person came in, it kind of just all right, I'm gonna come in heels. Back then, this was years ago. Some people came chunky,
Yeah. There's I just want to be cute. I'm gonna wear mine too.
That's how I kind of got into it, and why I even started teaching heels, but in a sneaker. Because a lot of people are why do you teach in a sneaker? And I was just I didn't really know how to explain it. It was a really long story.
Yeah.
But I was just okay, well, it's just I guess now this is how to explain it. I didn't necessarily pick to be a heels teacher. It just kind of developed into that. And my style definitely fit for a heel. I didn't understand all the techniques behind it and all the technical terms. I did more hip hop than anything. So that's how it developed. And then when I was doing that in Arizona, I came out to LA. I just continued doing that. And then, years later, I was let me just put a heel on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as soon as I put the heel on, I understood my purpose. It was
Dude. You want to hear something crazy? I remember we were at the studio. I think we had just gotten some studio space to just F around. And you were I think I'm going to start wearing heels when I teach. And I was hell yeah. Absolutely. I was I've been waiting for you to want to do that. And you brought them and you put them on. And I was oh, he's feeling it. I was like, this is it. And so it's crazy to have seen that too for you. Like I saw that moment for you being like, I'm supposed to embody this fully. And I think that's also why the people who take your classes, like they feel a real connection to you, because it's like you're not just teaching it to teach a heels class. Like that was already in your style. How you said with the R&B and the kind of music that you like to pick. To me, from an outsider looking in, I feel like that's why a lot of people are attracted to you, is because of your music choices. They're attracted to the space that you create, you know what I mean, when you teach. And that also includes the music.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the most important part. So like, if I can't just, choreograph to anything, it has to mean something to me. Yeah, it definitely is how her movement developed. And even with the name of the brand, I literally was with a friend of mine, a Madison, and I was like, I need to like brand myself. I have to brand what I'm doing, like, so people know the stamp.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I need to do something that's not like stiletto this or letos or heels or too literal, cliche, if you can say, as far as like naming your brand.
Right.
Like branding is so important, and like creating that name, you want to do it right the first time, because once you brand something and you rename it, it kind of gets like foggy.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's very soft. It's captivating. I consider it. This is me describing my own like movement. Sexy. And I was like, this kind of reminds me of a cat. And I was like, I really like when cats purr. You know what I mean? That's like when they're like comfortable.
Yeah, they're cozy.
I was like, all right then. I was like, well, purr. Purr is like what I'll call it. Like, and I was like, the ladies of purr.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it works perfectly.
I started to hashtag purr movement because I considered it a movement after it started growing. And then I made the business happen. Now I got purr movement.
Purr movement. That's so interesting. You talked about branding yourself, and that actually segues perfectly into my next question. This teaching stuff is difficult. And I don't think people realize how difficult it is to be a dance teacher in 2021 who wants to travel. There's so many different aspects of the business that you have to learn outside of just learning how to be a good teacher. Like that's one skill that takes time to get. And like you said, that's why you, in the beginning, you were like, I'm not going to charge because I am learning how to be a good teacher. What are some of the other skills, business related skills, that you had to learn in order for Purr movement to really grow and flourish?
So like having a presence on social media is important. Try not to get consumed in it though. I want to remain like, genuine and organic to what I actually do. And I don't want to, if I don't feel like I have something to offer or showcase, like I'm not going to just force content. Creating visuals was like a big deal for me. Aside from just teaching classes, like to expand my brand, I was like, all right, let me actually like create like a scene and like film it. Anything from like down to like your class flyers, like I had to learn how to do that myself, editing, something I never done, filming, like I film all my classes. So those are skills that like, if you don't know how to do them, you got to pay for them. And if you can't afford it and you don't know how to do it, you don't get it. And I had to teach myself. I was like, I never want to run out of what I love to do and like being able to show it when I want to show it and how I want to show it. So teaching as much as I did kind of like trained me fast with the camera. Learning how to like balance your finances too. You learn a lot when you get into like being your own brand. Because you got to know like, all right, well, like it's cool to do the classes, but like we got to expand and also got to be mindful that I still got bills. I still got to, bring income multiple ways. So you got to find balance in life in general too.
Yeah.
those overnighters can like lead into me, not being productive the next day. So sometimes, I got to like really schedule things out. That's another thing too. Building structure when you don't have your own job. Like,
Yes.
so hard.
Oh my God. I'm a to-do list person, and I used to put them on my stories like every day. Like, here's my whole to-do list, Monday through Friday. Because like if I don't create some kind of something, like you're just out here floating. And people think that just because they're excited about something when they start, that they're going to stay excited the whole time. And it's like, no. You got to create ways for you to make sure that stuff gets done, even when you're not excited about it, even when you're tired,
People, like, even this week, it's hilarious. People would look at my phone and see my screensaver, and it's literally a screenshot of my notes that's on my screen. So off my phone, it says, promote Orlando class, book hotels for New York.
Wow.
Reach out to studios in Houston, and it says it on my thing. And it's because like I know I can get caught up in everything else. And like as busy as like, when you're your own, business, you can sometimes, if you don't have it down, like you'll slip up and miss opportunities or be late to something. Those little things, those habits, like you don't have them just right off the bat, but like you start to develop your own way of how I work. This is my formula.
Yes. That's what I try to tell people is because I've had, some of my clients and stuff that they want to start dance related businesses. And I'm like, most of what I'm going to be talking to you about is your workflow, not about the actual teaching the classes or starting the brand or whatever it is. It's like, what's your workflow? How do you work? How do you need to configure your day-to-day, your living space, your workspace, so that it's perfect for you? Because that's the stuff that takes time and figuring out. And like you said, like screenshotting it and having it on your phone. I've never thought about that. But yeah, I'm a queen for setting reminders, and every single event that I have, I set a reminder for the day before and 2 hours before and 15 minutes before.
Oh yeah.
Every single thing in my phone. It doesn't matter if it's a birthday, because that's the other thing is like when you are pursuing a business, right? Like you still have a family. You still have people who care about you. Yeah, and you can't forget about them on this process of building what you're building, like, because then you become a shit friend or you become like a terrible daughter or son. And it's like, okay, these are important dates that I need to remember. And I have had those points sometimes where I've forgotten very important birthdays. My best friend's birthday, I forgot it. And I was like, oh, I can't let that happen again.
Balance.
And like you said, and systems and knowing yourself and knowing how you work. I think that's the biggest thing,
You learn a lot about yourself.
Oh my gosh. I've learned so much about myself through starting my business. So much. And I'm still in the infancy stages of it, and mine is more product based. And I'm kind of going through some things right now that I'm planning on really doing in the new year. And so for me, this time has been like a rest and analyze kind of time where I'm like, okay, let me look at the things that are working, the things that aren't working, and how can I tweak them, and what makes this work better, and all of that is the work.
That's like, these last 2 days have been like days off.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally am like, all right, let me like really like write things down and like actually like figure out what's next and how I'm gonna like enhance my business.
Yeah, plotting. That plotting season is so important. And like you said, like not feeling rushed. I think because of social media, we can feel like everything has to be rushed because these algorithms reward like you being ultra consistent with something and the same exact thing over time. And it's like, that's not how really anything works. Nothing is that consistent and the same all the time, And if you want to look for areas of growth, you have to take that time away to be like, okay, what's the next sensible step? Because if you don't take that time away, you're just going to do the next thing that someone else is doing, right? Instead of thinking about what would make it work for you and your business. So right now, voguing is starting to have its moment again because for so long in the pandemic, things were shut down in terms of like spaces where people could go and dance together. So what does it mean for you now that like Vogue balls are starting to happen again, and those people are allowed to have their space, their time in the sun now again?
It's really nice that now the ballroom is back in action, because I mean, that's kind of what like kept me afloat, honestly.
Yeah.
My love for Vogue is different from other people's love for Vogue. Some people, it's like their escape. You know what I mean? It's like where they can be who they want to be. Same for me, but like the root of my love for Vogue is like, it really like brought me into this career that I have right now.
Yeah.
And I can piggyback off of it. It's literally something that like, it was a survival thing. Like, and I really went in on these battles when I first moved here. Now, would I say I'm the best Voguer back then? Not so much. It wasn't as clean, but it kind of kept me, you know, it's the reason why I'm still here.
Yeah.
If I did not have that money and food, money to eat and all of that, maybe I would have moved back. You know what I mean? Not saying I'd give up and not come back, but that's what kept me here and never made me, you know, like leave LA because, you know, I was having financial hardships.
Yeah.
My love for Vogue is like, that's my style. Like if people ask me, what dance style do you do? I'm gonna say, I Vogue.
Okay.
Skills.
Yeah.
Those kind of go hand in hand for me. So it being back in action, I get to travel and walk balls, explore.
Yeah.
Double O, I have no ties to anyone. So, you know, when you see a Vogue ball, like you hear them chanting their house names. And like, if you go out there and your house is there with you, they chant behind you.
Okay. Okay.
Like, I don't have that now. I'm Double O.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be a different experience. I mean, I was Double O originally, but I didn't really walk like too many balls back then. But now that I have this financial freedom, because I am a business owner and I can travel and work and then also walk a ball that's, you know, in the city I'm in.
Yeah.
I've been doing lately. I get to really learn more about my Vogue, because everyone's Vogue is like their own language. Some people like train under certain people for so long that they resemble them. I don't want to be that. I want to be my own thing. So that if I do get picked up by a house, or if I happen to do my checkups, or if I happen to go back to Balmain's, whatever it is, I have me to offer 100%.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like clone or just look like I blend in. I want to stand out because I want to like gain status in the ballroom scene. I feel like sometimes too, though, I get overlooked because I am a commercial dancer, and I have like that kind of, you know, status, I guess, that when I do go to ballroom, sometimes I do get overlooked just because I love that it's making commercial, but we hate that we see fake Voguers.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that because I see a lot of that too. And as, like you were saying, as great as it is to see more representation of the style, it must kind of suck to see them just take someone off the street who doesn't study it and just be like, here, do these moves. And you see that it's not tight or clean, you know?
It loses the authenticity. It misinforms the masses. Yeah, so it's nice. I love voguing.
Yeah.
Now that it is happening, you're gonna see a lot more of me at balls. Now I'm just gonna be alone. It's not gonna be all the exciting chanting behind me. Maybe people will live for me. Maybe they'll be like quiet and they're like, who's this? I get that a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's always the best though. I secretly love that. When I show up and people don't know who the heck I am. Like that happens sometimes when I go to your classes because I don't really take classes often. And if I do, I take your class. And so I show up and girls are just like, who is that? And I'm like, you'll see, you know? So for my final question, what have you learned about fulfillment on your journey here in LA so far? What have you learned about fulfillment for yourself, and how has that definition of fulfillment changed for you, if it has?
Like up until now, I definitely have had like tunnel vision. So, no side eyeing, looking at everything going on. Um, and now I've basically learned how to kind of like enjoy where I'm at, be present, um, pour into myself. I literally would drill myself into the ground and wonder why I'm low-key depressed. But like doing so many amazing things. People like all the good stuff, and it's nice too, and I see it all too, but I also just sometimes I caught myself not feeling a certain way, about it, like in my personal life, because I didn't have balance. So I mean, pouring into myself and balancing myself, making more time for family, and being able to like, now that I have financial freedom, I can like treat myself and do things and like realize like, okay, you can enjoy things other than work and like just the grind, and like being able to do things like I paid for my mom's knee surgery. You know what I mean? Like there was never a day I thought I was going to be able to afford that, but I did that, and those kind of things really like made me feel like I made it. Because at first, like, I thought it's just gonna be a great feeling to like all this glory and like being seen on TV and, meeting these artists. And when it happens, like, it's nice sometimes to meet some artists who are just there for work. It's work. So really, you don't get that fulfillment you expect when you work these jobs that you dreamed of all your life. So I realized like the fulfillment comes in like what you do for yourself and for the people you care about with what you gain from what you've done for yourself,
Yeah.
I get all of these blessings, but I don't keep them to myself. I like spread them to the people that I do love. That kind of sums up my answer.
That's beautiful. And I completely agree. I've noticed the same thing. Like these jobs, once you get them, you realize, oh, that's not actually what I was chasing. I was chasing certain feelings and I thought that these would give me those feelings. And the things that give me those feelings are being present for the people who I love and being able to do things for them from what I've created for myself. And that looks like what you're doing. And I'm so proud of you. I don't tell you this enough, but I am so incredibly proud of you. You inspire me so much just watching how you have built what you've built, and to also see it being done by a person who is a good person, who has, just nothing but good intentions. I can't wait to see what else you do.
Thank you.
I love you.
What a great conversation. I'm just so grateful to have friends who are this genuine and this open to sharing their story with me and with you guys. So thank you so much to Cisco for being open to doing this episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below, and go ahead and share it with a friend, obviously, because we want more people to be listening to dance and other things. Let's talk about dance and all the other things, you know what I'm saying? I will see you guys in my next video next weekend. Later.